Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Be Well, Be Keto. And today I'm super excited to have Luis Villasenor from Keto Gains. He was one of the people who guided me on keto when I first got started a couple years ago. And I took one of his boot camps, which was pretty intense, 5 days of heavy strength training. And he is just an amazing guy. He has a little unique philosophy that is helping his clients totally recomp their bodies, meaning burn fat, lose weight, and actually gain muscle mass. So it's a really effective approach to, changing the way your appearance is. Luis is a nutrition and fitness expert, and I just can't wait for you to hear his awesome advice. So let's go say hi to Luis.
Welcome to the Be Well, Be Keto podcast, where we showcase ordinary people who have achieved extraordinary results. Your host is the high energy girl, health coach, and personal trainer, Tracy Gluhite.
Create whole body wellness, a powerful new advancement in energy medicine. Increase your energy, empower your life. I am super excited to announce that I am now a bioenergetics practitioner. And many people are like, well, what is bioenergetics? So imagine that our body is controlled by our energy field, and these fields get distortions and blockages, which create physical and emotional symptoms. So how do we get energy blockages? From stress, toxins, EMFs, emotional traumas, physical scars, and physical traumas. All you need to do is decode the human body field to get to the root cause and restore your energy for life. For more information, head on over to the blog at highenergygirl.com/bioenergetics with an X. That's BIOENERGETIX, and heal your energy for life. Have you joined the Facebook group yet? I have a new Facebook group called High Energy Girls, and that is pretty much where I'm hanging out these days, and I would love to have you a part of the group. So head on over to High Energy Girls on Facebook. Hey Luis, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Hey Tracy, thanks for having me.
Well, I've been a big fan of yours and did one of your awesome Keto Gains boot camps when I first started out on keto. So I'm really excited for you to share your story with our listeners.
Amazing. Thank you.
So for those that don't know you yet, why don't you give them a little bit of background of who you are?
Sure. So I'm going to try to make it brief because, it can get a little bit long. But the short version is that I was quite overweight when I was a kid. And so the traditional approach didn't work very well for me. Just the classic eat less, have 5 meals a day, etc. So I'm one of those persons that really likes to know the whys and the hows and understand how everything works so that I can implement it properly. I just don't like to follow suggestions or orders without knowing the reasoning behind, right? So after some failed attempts, I basically started doing things on my own, started doing research, reading books, magazines, encyclopedias. And so let's say that I'm a self-taught nutritionist in a way that specializes in body recomposition and fat loss, and also muscle building. And my journey eventually led me to what I would call at the time a forgotten approach for fat loss, which is a ketogenic diet. Normally, lots of people used a ketogenic diet, and it has been used for ages. Even there are some writings, even on ancient Greek, where they use a ketogenic diet as a therapeutic approach. And so that is basically what people used it for. But the forgotten approach was that a side effect of a ketogenic diet allowed people to lose body fat almost effortlessly in some cases while maintaining their lean mass, right? So because at the time that I was studying these subjects, I also had started bodybuilding. It really sparked my interest. And so I decided to experiment with a diet. And so I've been on the diet for almost 20 years now.
Yeah. So you were like keto before keto was even known really well, right?
Yeah, very much. Like people didn't know or understand what I was basically doing. So we used to have this saying that the first rule of keto is not to talk about keto, because you then would have to explain, give basically a dissertation of what keto is and what is not going to be harmful or kill you eventually. And so it's more to just not really tell people what you're doing. And what I did was just telling them that I was doing a bodybuilding diet where I just ate greens and protein, right?
Yeah. And when you started, you were not muscular. So let's talk a little bit about that. So Luis has a group called Keto Gains, and that's where I found him because I love to strength train. And all of these people are getting stronger and leaner. And some people say, I've heard people in the keto community or even at my local gym saying, oh, you need carbs to get stronger.
Yeah. Well, the reason, at the time I actually started keto, I had already lost a lot of weight, and this is something that I just opened up a few years behind. I had been in college and going through a mild period of depression, and I was at the moment not super lean, but let's say lean, but not really muscular, as you said, and I just stopped eating to cope with things and trying to control what I was going through, and I ended up being anorexic. So I was eating in between 200 to 400 calories a day. Over time, it became very easy for me to stay like that. The little muscle that I had, I lost it. I don't know if you've seen pictures of me at that time, but I always joke when I give a presentation that I was looking like Michael Jackson during his phase of You're Not Alone, because I had the long hair, was very, I looked famished, faced white. I ended up weighing about 48 kilos, just to put it in perspective, and right now I'm 78. So wow. It was not a fun phase, and then that's when I really started researching more on ways to control diet and cope with that, and I found keto, and it really resonated with me because if you've been talking, or do you know someone who has had trouble all their life managing their weight, it's very easy to get stuck in the idea of not wanting to eat more because you are afraid of also getting fat, right? So keto helped me control this, and I actually gained all my muscle while doing a ketogenic diet, and also managed to stay in a low body fat percentage level, very much because keto, if you do it properly, is a very nutrient dense diet when I'm giving my body exactly what I need without having to carb load or eat lots of carbs that can be inflammatory or make people in some cases overeat. People that have compulsive behaviors are usually go all in, and it's very easy to sidetrack of the diet, and I really don't like or don't follow that approach of classic bodybuilding of bulking and cutting. I prefer to do what I call gaintaining, which means you gain probably at a slower rate, but you're gaining mostly lean mass, so you can stay at a low body fat percentage all day long and just gain what I call clean gains, right? Whereas on a traditional approach, you get fat and then you have to cut. And what I see with lots of people is that they get stuck on the bulk phase and they just stay fat and strong, because it's very easy to eat, but it's hard to actually diet.
Right. And you said a few things I want to talk a little bit deeper on. So the first thing is you said something about people who did you say compulsively eat? Does this have to do with relations to trying to make gains in the gym, or?
I'd say in all facets of their life. one can get overweight by overeating, but to get to the levels of obesity and even all the health issues that we're facing today, it has to do more so with education and being in an obesogenic environment, which is the one we live today, which makes people, partake in unhealthy habits. And also, I see it as a way to coping with stress in an unhealthy manner. We tend to medicate ourselves with food, basically, and also food has become an entertainment. We go to the movies and everyone is eating popcorn or ice cream or whatever. We try, I don't know, depending on the states on where you live, but here in Mexico City, which is the city I live, you can basically go to a different city, to a different restaurant every single day for a year. If you wanted to try different things every day, you can do it. There are more restaurants than any other business likely here in Mexico. So again, people eat mostly without restraint, and in most cases to numb emotions or to just get through the day. It's not food has always been a center part of humanity, but we lost this connection, and we are just eating mindlessly all day long.
Yeah, that's one of my words, is mindless, and trying to be mindful with everything, not just food, but even just having a talk with somebody. Everybody feels like they're always so distracted. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and this is something that I see with lots of clients is I remember when I was a kid, I was the fat kid at my school. I was on a boarding school with about 100 other kids, and there were only 3 overweight kids. I was one of them, but my overweightness in a way was what is today the norm, and it makes me so sad. I was probably 10 kilos overweight. I was not really that obese when I was a kid, thankfully, but I was the chubby kid. I don't know, imagine I don't know if you remember or you guys ever saw the Goonies movie, right? So I was the fat kid from that movie, but now that is the normal.
Yeah. I mean, I live in California, so I would say probably 80% of our population at least is overweight.
Exactly. But what really makes me sad is that this has become the normal, and then people think that being healthy is requires an incredible amount of willpower and strength, and they don't have the time, and so they are content now in being, again, I don't want to be offensive, but mediocre. And when I explain that to our clients, and then we give them the results, like you said, you were in boot camp, and probably you saw those transformations where we are seeing women that are in their 50s, and after a few boot camps, they can rock abs, and then a lot of them have even better bodies now than when they were 20.
Yeah,
it's really mind blowing. I see this also with a lot of male clients that they didn't have abs when they were in their teens, and now they have even a better body, and they were told all their lives that having abs is something that it's out of your league, that it's something that people over 40 are not going to have. And if you actually look at lots of autochthonous populations, that's how they actually live. It's totally healthy and doable and normal to have a fit body even if you're 80 years old. You don't have to lose the body. What you have to do is just, like you were saying, eat properly, eat mindlessly, and not focus everything around food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, use food for what it's intended, and I think that so many people, eat for emotional reasons, or because they're just distracted, or they're bored, or they need to actually feed their body with self-care. I mean, I'm a real proponent of taking care of yourself and getting adequate rest, and in California, I call it busy land, because all these people are, commuting hours. Like the Bay Area traffic is ridiculous. And, they just feel so spent and drained that they don't have anything left,
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of different methodologies of keto going around the internet. And what would you say makes your approach unique?
Well, first and foremost, our approach to keto is a little different because we don't follow the traditional ketogenic ratios, right? So what we do is mostly restrict carbohydrates and restrict processed foods. So to explain it in a very easy to understand manner, we are a marriage between keto and paleo, more so like a primal diet, in which we focus on nutrient-dense foods. We really don't care that much about calories because, especially when your goal is to lose body fat and improve your health, we tend to focus too much on, the classic if it fits your macros as long as you are maintaining your adequate caloric balance. And yeah, calories matter. They do. But not all calories are the same. Even though you may lose weight if you eat, I'm going to be just throwing numbers out there, but let's say 1,200 calories worth of Twinkie Wonders can basically lose, and there's even some experiments that have shown this. It's nutrient devoid, and it's not going to be the same. Right? And on the other hand, even if you have a higher caloric diet or even a lower caloric diet, but everything that you're eating is super nutrient dense, then for one, you are likely, after a period of adaptation, not going to be hungry. And then you're not going to be missing on any key nutrient, and so your body will respond fairly well. One of the things that we see sometimes with some of our female clients especially is that when we give them their optimized macros, at first some of them may get a little bit scared because of the amount of calories, of course depending if their goal is to lose weight and they think it's going to be a little too little food. But after a week or so, usually the second mail we get or the second comment is, my God, this is too much food. Because again, it's not the same to be eating 1,200 calories from a shake and some greens versus getting all those calories from actual food, real food, a steak, eggs, chicken, sardines, and then high quality vegetables, zucchini, chayote, even some carrots or blueberries, etc. It's the actual amount and volume of the food, plus the fiber, plus digestion, etc., makes it a very sustainable diet where you're not missing, again, any key micronutrient. And this tells your body that you are not really in a famine environment where you're going to be, probably afraid of getting into that slowdown of metabolism, etc., right? So basically that's our approach, focusing on a nutrient-dense diet, avoiding processed foods without being paleo-Nazis in a way. Like there's nothing bad if you want to have, for example, Diet Coke eventually, and if it doesn't trigger you for cravings, because there are some cases where just, eating those kinds of foods have not that it makes you gain weight, but that because there are quite a few psychological factors where people tend to associate certain flavors with behaviors, etc. Some people may react poorly as it triggers cravings, right? So again, just to make it clear, is a whole food nutrient-dense approach to a low-carb diet.
Right, and that's what I actually like. Like I just say vegetables, like I love big salads with, fat on them and protein on them. And like if I had to pick two foods, my favorite is grass-fed ground beef, which I do like taco seasoning. I make my own taco seasoning, and avocado. That's my two favorite things.
Yeah, like if I had, we basically eat about the same things every day. And when I'm on maintenance mode, which is I don't really care about like I want to maintain my weight and have a good ratio of strength and strength to weight ratio. I can maintain very well in between 10 to 12% body fat all year long, eating the same things every day mostly. It's just eggs and like burger patties, just beef and maybe avocado here and there. Throw some smoked salmon when possible, and that's basically my go-to foods for almost every day.
That's so funny that you said that. Now, I'll tell you why in a second. Do you do intermittent fasting?
Yes, even though you go to our website or our group, you will see lots of comments regarding people think that Keto Gains is anti-fasting, and that's not the issue. We are against non-intelligent fasting. And here's the deal. Very much like people trying to get high numbers or high levels of ketones without understanding what this actually translate to or what does it means. People think that, doing 12, 24, 48 hours of fasting is going to be better for whatever reason. And when you ask them why, this is one of the, let's say like a game I play with clients, or especially even when I met them face to face. Oh, have you heard about fasting? What's your take on it? And I ask them, okay, so why are you doing fasting? And 9 out of 10 times, their faces, like their eyes go blank. They stare at me, they don't know why. Just because it's the next cool thing to do, right? There are some approaches. It has great benefits, especially for autophagy and so on and so forth, but you're already doing a ketogenic diet. So, okay, of course, supposing that you are, right? But ketogenic diet by itself also promotes autophagy, and people don't know that. Eating whole foods, eating antioxidants, there are quite of them that also promote autophagy. Strength training also promotes autophagy. So it comes a time when what I call there's this law in economy of the diminishing returns. More is not better, and so you may be overstressing your body. Especially I see this all the time with women, and then also because you are restricting your feeding patterns or feeding periods, there are some people that may not be able to get all the food they actually need in their feeding window, and so it's like you're doing this for fat loss, and you have to understand that it's about optimizing calories. It really does not matter how many meals a day you eat. For adherence, it may be prudent depending on your personality type, whether you have 2 or 1 or 3 meals a day. But
and every day is different, wouldn't you say? I mean, I tell people to listen to your body, and if you're hungry, like physically hungry, and your body needs food, then eat.
Yeah, like in my case, you were asking me, do I do intermittent fasting? Yes, I do it. And how I apply it is very much most days, because again, like you said, it's not every single day the same. I will probably skip breakfast, and then I normally train at about 12. So I usually have a pre-workout shake, which is just whey protein, because I never suggest training fasted for other reasons we can comment later. Have the shake, which basically breaks my fast with some protein and coffee. Train, and then after training, a few hours later, I will have a very big meal. And if I still feel that I'm missing some protein and fats, I may have another one as dinner. So probably let's say that I eat at 3 p.m. or so, and then my last meal would be between 6 to 7, and that's it. And I repeat this, let's say 5 or 6 days a week, because over the weekends, I go with family and friends, etc. So the schedule may change a little, or if I'm traveling and I know that my day is going to be a little bit different, I may just have a very big breakfast and then probably lunch, or maybe I wait until dinner. Really depends.
Okay. So I like that, because I feel like it sounds like you're being really mindful with, when you need fuel. But talk about this. Like, I train fasted because I teach at the gym. And all my classes and everything I do is around 5:30 a.m. and I just cannot put any food in my stomach other than my coffee with MCT oil.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you not like that?
Because it really depends on quite a few things. But in your case, for example, when was the last time you actually had protein as food, right? And what kind of food or what kind of protein you had? The thing is that if you're doing any kind of strength training, the reason for training is not, or the goal of training is not to burn fat. Exercise is not to burn fat, and we have to let go of that idea. I know that it has been pushed for ages, but we really cannot outrun a bad diet. And so, we say in our boot camps, as a previous client, you know that we actually forbid people doing cardio. Because again, more is not better. Fat loss comes from the diet. And the training we do is focused on strength training because the idea is to build your lean mass. And even if you don't want to be a bodybuilder, having lean mass is highly correlated to having better health because your body stores amino acids, which are not just for muscle and protein, in your muscles. That's the only storage where your body can place amino acids, which are not just for muscles, but every single cell of your body is made out of protein. Amino acids are needed for hormones and enzymes and many other functions, right? So I like to say to my clients that your muscles are your health pension for when you age, very much. So it's not just about looking good. It's about building and saving, because eventually you will likely not have the energy, nor the time, nor whatever to build. The more muscle you build when you're younger, the better health you will have when you're older. That's a fact. That's something that is not refutable. And every single study that I've seen, and and even a few new that have come recently, just even this year, supports the notion. And I'm not saying that you have to be 2 hours at the gym, even just doing air squats or pull-ups or push-ups. It's in some cases enough to send a signal to your body that you're using your muscles, that you have to maintain them, right? And then the thing about training fasted is that your body will require energy and will require the material. Let's say you're using a ketogenic diet. Well, your body is gonna get the energy that it needs from fats and ketones, so there's no issue in there. If you're overweight, more power then, because you're gonna be using your own fat stores. But what are you going to be building muscle with? You can train fasted, and you will sort of maintaining what you have, but you will not burn anything. You will not build, or you will not build optimally. You're already doing exercise, so why not get the best out of it? So when people tell me, no, but I want to do it fasted, well then, up to you. But it's like if you were telling me, okay, you're going to invest your money in a bank. So you can invest it here and get 10%, or you can invest it here and get 4%. And it's like if a client was telling me, no, I'm okay with 4%. Like, it costs you exactly the same. You only have to decide to do this little change. And I'm not getting clients to eat a whole steak before training. It's just you're already drinking the coffee and the MCT. Just add 25 grams of protein, because this will, yes, raise a little bit insulin. Don't kill me here. You actually want your insulin raised while you're training because it protects your muscles. Insulin is not anabolic. Insulin is anti-catabolic. So what will happen is that you will even create or build more muscle while having a little bit of your insulin raised while you're training, whereas you didn't have it. Like you were saying or asking me before about, people say that you need carbs to build muscle, and this is based on the idea of having your insulin raised before training or during training. Well, guess what? Whey itself raises insulin exactly the same as if you had whey with carbs. You don't need the carbs. You just need a little bit of protein. So you're giving your body the signal, the stimulus, and the material to build.
Okay. So for me personally, since I go to the gym at 5:30 most days, would you have that 25 grams of protein like as soon as I get up at like 5?
Yeah, like at 20, 30 minutes before. So basically while you commute to the gym is what is more than adequate, because it will not really hit your bloodstream immediately. Whey is the fastest absorbing kind of protein or type of protein, and it's digested in average in 10 grams per hour. So the suggested amount, which is about 25 grams, which also has leucine, which is it incites muscle protein synthesis, will hit your bloodstream in about 2 hours. So basically while you're finishing your workout in most cases.
Okay. So then what about the fasting component? So if you wanted to, like usually I have lunch and dinner on most days. And if you have a shake in the morning before you train, like super early, then when should your last meal be?
So just let's count, but could be between 5 and 6 very much. And you would be doing about 12 hours of fasting. The thing is, Tracy, if you're already having coffee and MCT, you're already breaking the fast.
Oh, because I thought that's what you said to do in that boot camp, is have a teaspoon of MCT in your coffee.
Yeah, like a coffee, and like lots of people say, I don't want the protein shake because I'm fasting. But they are having the bulletproof coffee. And then they're having BCAAs. Well, guess what? BCAAs break a fast. BCAAs have calories. MCT has calories and breaks a fast. So there's a little bit of disconnect there. And even if you're doing it for fat loss, it's not going to improve fat loss. So it just doesn't happen. And then in the case of autophagy, you're already doing keto. You're already doing strength training. Again, more is not better. 10 hours of fasting will turn on autophagy. 12 hours as well. There's research doesn't support the notion that more is better, and the top end that I would suggest is 16 hours, because again, your body needs to keep up, and as much as autophagy is amped up, what autophagy only does is takes a little bit of cells that you may not be using, breaks them apart, and uses a component that it may deem usable to rebuild other cells that need to be, renowned. Okay, so let's look at it. It's very much like, instead of you buying a new iPhone, if you could open that and take out the pieces and just repair an old one. That's what autophagy does. It's going to be cheaper in a way, because it's reusing certain parts of some cells, but it cannot create everything from scratch, and it cannot use all the cells. You still need certain amounts of nutrients. And so where will your body take those aminos from? Well, from your own muscles. So again, you can survive, you can maintain your lean mass while fasting. You are shooting yourself in the foot. You will not be building. And when people tell me, I'm not building muscle on keto, and I revise their diet and their schedule and their approach, 9 out of 10 times they're under eating protein because they're trying to keep with the ketogenic ratios. They are overeating fat. They are fasting for way too long. They are not refeeding properly, because one component of fasting is fasting and feasting. It's not just fasting for the sake of it. And then also training fasted. So their intensity is low. They are not supplying the materials they need to supply. So, of course, they're not going to get the results they want.
Oh, boy. I feel like I've been doing it wrong now. All this time. So, did you not say at one point that a teaspoon of MCT won't break the fast?
No, it does break the fast. Anything that has calories break a fast.
Oh, gosh darn it, Tracy. Okay. I could swear that I thought I heard somebody say...
That's a prevalent myth, that it's on keto and fasting communities. And again, it's the classic broken telephone syndrome, where one person says one thing, then another says it, but they change a little bit of things along the way. And again, it also depends on the context. For the context of autophagy, some proponents tend to say that only food that raises insulin breaks the fast, while for other purposes, anything that has calories breaks the fast. And then for some others, anything that incites a cellular response also breaks a fast. So even if you are ingesting coffee that has basically null calories, like Rhonda Patrick, for example, and Dr. Sachin Panda, they say it does break a fast because it generates enzymes and hormones in your stomach, and so the fasting is broken in this case. But then the autophagy is not. So again, it really depends on the context and the purpose. And so this is why I was saying before, I ask people, why are you doing the fast, or why are you fasting? So it's just to optimize health and then to improve fat loss. The main benefit of fasting is very much like a ketogenic diet. It helps control whatever you're eating. It puts things in boundary. It restricts certain kinds of foods that may be prone to make you overeat or binge because they are over palatable, or it puts your feeding on a schedule. So because you are restricted to only eat at certain times, you are not overeating. You're not mindlessly eating things or here or there or snacking.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so you have some really fun things that you say. Snacks are for...
Okay, so it's snacks are for babies, treats are for dogs, and seeds are for birds. And it's like I said, it's a tongue-in-cheek idea to make people understand that usually we are using food as a coping mechanism or as entertainment. How many times have we, catched ourselves just throwing things into our mouth while we are working? You have a box of peanuts and you eat just not the box, the whole container while you're working on some spreadsheets or whatever, because you are not really thinking about what you're doing. It's just something you do in automatic. Or go to the movies and grab, I don't know, like a 2-pound box of popcorn, and you can finish it in your finish Avengers Endgame without actually noticing it, and you just show it in 1,000 calories without actually feeling them, right? You probably didn't even enjoy them. You were just shoving them in your mouth, and so on and so forth, right? So the saying makes, I know I've been criticized for that saying, but it puts things in perspective, and if it actually irks you, it's because probably there's something inside of you that, like, it probably struck a nerve and it made you realize something.
Well, and I think it's so true, and I've talked about this on my show before, that like I don't eat nuts most of the time. I mean, I always say most of the time because sometimes I do, it's like it's not black and white. But it's because I tend to end up eating them mindlessly, and I feel like they just set off cravings, and then I end up consuming too many calories, which my favorite food and my healthiest, like best response food is just protein and vegetables.
Exactly.
And I'm also into, like you said, the nutrient dense. So instead of putting lettuce in my salad, I usually load it up with cilantro and broccoli sprouts and, shredded cruciferous. And so I get more, bang for the buck.
Perfect. Yeah.
So what advice would you want to leave the listeners with? I mean, I'm really into strength and aging, and, that's pretty much my passion, is teaching people how to age stronger instead of aging in sickness.
Exactly.
What advice would you want to leave the listeners with on that topic?
Okay. So first, don't fear eating protein. Like, especially recently, we have been bombarded by this fear on protein that it's gonna, that meat is dangerous, that it's gonna cause health issues, that eating meat is akin to smoking cigarettes, and that's basically bullshit. No, for real. Like,
I know.
and Diana Rogers are doing an incredible job in this regard. I don't know if if you've heard or read recently about this film by Diana Rogers that is called The Sacred Cow, where she explains and tries to demystify all these recent propaganda against meat and all the harm it's doing to ranchers, etc., and explaining also how one can eat meat in a sustainable way without harming the environment, and the reality in regards to the ecological impact of eating red meat versus not eating it. So that's one thing. And the other is, even if you're doing a keto diet, don't be afraid of eating protein, especially, as you said, with the focus of aging properly. Let's understand that if you don't feed your body with adequate protein, as we age, your body will try, as I was saying, to get those aminos from somewhere, and it will get the aminos from your muscles. Mm-hmm. The reason why we see people as they age, to get smaller and become less muscular, become weaker, is not something that, even though it's natural, it doesn't mean that it cannot be stopped. It's natural if you don't do anything about it. But if you look at some populations that still follow an ancestral diet, you will realize that we are not destined to be this way, that doing some kind of physical activity and eating adequate protein is enough to avoid sarcopenia, which is basically losing lean mass, and improve or maintain a positive body composition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's really important. I used to teach a senior aerobics class at the gym, like with weights and, making them do functional movement. And, because even when I dislocated my knee, I was, I couldn't do what I'm normally doing, and my leg went to mush pretty darn quick. And it's crazy how quickly we can atrophy. But I'd like to also tell people that it's never too late to get started on a different trajectory.
Oh yeah, it's never. Like people say, but I'm already 40 or 50 or 55. Like it's funny, but most of our clients are about 70% women, and the age is usually between 45 to 55. That's mostly our client base, and so, like you said, it's never too late. You can there's something always you can do, and there's always room for improvement. And here's the deal, even like if you're the farthest away from your goal, it's gonna be even better because you have so much areas of opportunity to improve. Here's you're in a place that even very little changes will yield great differences and great improvements. Mm-hmm. So there's always something you can do, and it's up to you to decide if you want to do them gradually and slowly or go all the way in.
Yeah. And I love what you said, how strength training is so much more important than cardio, because I think that people are so stuck in the mindset that they need to be doing fat burning and cardio and all of that. And it just makes me crazy because I don't see their body recomping at all with that.
Exactly.
So, last question for you, Luis. What health benefits have you been able to achieve besides just, your body recomp?
Well, I don't know if this we were talking about this at PALEO FX at the keto panel, but let's say that it's something that I normally don't perceive that much because it has become the norm for me. But I rarely get sick, for real. Like I'm gonna be 42 in a couple of months. People, when I tell them that, they don't really believe that's my age, because I don't really look the part. Then I really cannot remember the last time that I've been bedridden, because it has been, and I'm not kidding. I'm not, it's like saying keto is the best diet, just do it. and more so is if you stop eating crap and eat a whole food, nutrient dense diet, it can be higher carb, it can even be vegan, it can be whatever, as long as you're not putting crap in your body, you're gonna optimize your a lot of facets of your health, right? And if you pair that with a little bit of strength training, I think you're gonna get the best bang for your buck. But again, I'd say that probably not getting sick and having a good deal of energy all through the day is one of the best benefits that I have seen health-wise from the diet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you're not doing the high highs and the low lows.
Yeah, it's very much stable all time.
Yeah. What about your brain?
Well, I work normally about 10 to 16 hours a day. I study a lot. I have no issues with that. Like on the contrary, right? I'm always super focused. I can again. We have over 600 clients per month right now, and I spend all my time answering and giving advice to each one of them. Plus the Facebook community, plus the Reddit community, plus taking a certification here or there and reading and researching. So I can say I'm quite busy.
Yeah, and you're able to focus and be successful. And I always tell people that eating this way is something that is so important for mental clarity and just focus.
Exactly. It keeps you in what I call the zone. Yeah, like you are flowing.
Yeah, it's so funny. My son's girlfriend last night, I was in the kitchen and I was focusing on something with, my business and on the computer. And she dropped an egg in the kitchen, a raw egg, and cleaned it up and everything. And I didn't even know. And my son walked in and goes, "You didn't know?" Like, Cody's like, "No, she wasn't. She was just focused."
Nice.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. So, Luis, I just really want to say that I admire you and your tribe so much. I love the Keto Gains community and your emphasis on, body recomp and strength training. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show and for providing, your awesome boot camps. And so why don't you let our listeners know where they can find you?
Yeah, thank you, Tracy. So if anything on the internet that is Keto Gains is very much going to direct you to us. But if you want to learn more about our services, just hop to ketogains.com and look for the services tab, and you will see all the options of everything we do, be it one-on-one coaching or group coaching, which is the Keto Gains Bootcamp. Or you can also take, we're partnered with Rob Wolf on his Keto Masterclass. And so we have this program that it's called Mastering the Masterclass, which is an enhanced approach to, or a guided tour to the Keto Masterclass. So what I suggest normally to people who want to learn about keto and to do it properly from the start is to get the Mastering the Masterclass course, which is between 1 or 2 weeks depending on the person. And we teach you exactly how to do keto properly without, falling in the classic myths or mishaps that some people may be prone to do. So we teach you and we guide you on how to do keto properly. Then if you want to take that to the next level, you can either join one of our boot camps, or for those who want to be really go hardcore, we also have one-on-one coaching. But again, this approach is reserved to very specific kinds of clients, those who really require a one-on-one approach, or for people who are going to be competing in a bodybuilding show or powerlifting meet or any other kind of high-intensity sports that require much more in-depth coaching.
Okay, so that would be the best. One of the good things, like I did the Keto Gains boot camp, and I did it with a friend at my gym. We did it together, and it was great. It was totally different because I love like regular boot camp, with all the cardio, and I teach that. And so getting out of that and going just to the weights for 5 days was pretty awesome. So wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Luis, for coming on the show today. And I would love if we could you mentioned that picture that you look like Michael Jackson. If we could put that on the show notes page, that would be cool so people could actually see your transformation.
Of course.
I know what you look like now. I don't know if everybody does, but your body is amazing.
Thank you so much.
All right, my dear. Well, thank you so much. Have a super day.
Likewise. Thank you.
Wow, I learned a lot on that show. Okay, so I'm going to be tweaking my approach each day before the gym and just kind of take this whole month and see how, if I apply what he was teaching today, if it will change my body. I've been stuck for a while, and I think this is exactly what I needed to change. So if you like the show, please head on over to iTunes, give us a rating and review, share it with a friend. And if you have any awesome guests that you think would be a good fit for the show, please send them our way. All right, so thank you so much for listening, and go out and make it a super day. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion, and I could be wrong.